Okay, so two types already we have discussed. In that, megaloblastic anemia and microcytic anemia, both the concepts were finished. In today's class, we will try to learn about hemolytic anemias. Okay, we will try to learn about hemolytic anemias. Can anyone tell me what is hemolysis or hemolytic anemia? What is hemolysis? Anybody from the class? Very good. Rupture of RBCs, breakdown of RBCs is called hemolysis. See, in some cases, if RBC breakdown is very high, if RBC breakdown is very high, than the production. अगर 100 cells produce हो रहे तो 100 cells will be destroyed. If 100 cells are destroyed, again 100 cells should be produced. So in that case, it is considered as homeostasis. And in that case, there is no anemia. Anemia is not seen. But in some cases, if RBC destruction is very high and production is decreased, that will lead to anemia, which is called hemolytic anemia. Simple. So in hemolytic anemias, we have so many types. We will try to discuss about all subtypes of hemolytic anemias in today's lecture. Clear? In that, the first one thing you have to understand, see, there are some basic things about hemolytic anemia. Just now I explained, hemolytic anemia is the type of anemia where rate of destruction is very high than the rate of production. Hemolytic anemia occurs when rate of destruction of erythrocytes exceeds than its rate of production. Destruction ज़्यादा हो जाएगा and production कम हो जाएगा. That is called hemolytic anemia. Okay, and in hemolytic anemia we have two major types. Sometimes hemolysis or hemolytic anemia is seen due to genetic disorders or due to genetic variations, and sometimes hemolysis also can be seen in acquired cases. That may be due to drug abuse, or maybe due to environmental exposures, or due to exposure of certain xenobiotics, or there are so many acquired conditions. Okay, same like megaloblastic anemia, hemolytic anemia also we have two types. One main cause is due to genetics, due to genetic variation, patient will develop hemolysis, and due to some drugs or due to some exposure of certain medications or drugs, they are considered as acquired hemolytic anemia. Clear? We have two types. And see, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, very important. We have sickle cell anemia, we have thalassemia, and we have G6PD deficiency, which is also called glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. So these are common conditions. In this lecture, hemolytic anemia, we will try to discuss about all these conditions. Now let us see about autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Now what we will try to see about autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Are you all following? Just now I told hemolytic anemia may be because of two reasons. Number one is genetics, and number two is acquired. So in acquired forms, we have certain drugs, or there are certain what we can say autoimmunity or exposure of certain things, all we can see. See, in genetic disorders, we have examples like sickle cell anemia, we have thalassemia. Just now we have seen glucose 6 phosphate deficiency, we have hereditary conditions. Okay, anyways, these are very rare, very rare, इतना ज़्यादा detail में नहीं जाते. And some acquired disorders, they are autoimmune due to the RHAVO incompatibility. Okay, due to infections. Very important, infections is very important. Acquired में infections causes, and there are certain drugs and chemicals, and sometimes hypersplenism is also, it may cause hemolytic anemia. Okay, now you see, if anybody has hemolytic anemia, what will be the general clinical manifestations? What common manifestations are seen in patients who are having hemolytic anemia? Number one is patients will have malaise. What is malaise? Feeling uneasiness bolte, feeling uneasy, lack of interest, lack of energy, or sometimes body will not have that much energy to do some activities. Sometimes body pains, body aches, all these are the common symptoms in malaise. So patient will have malaise. Malaise is not only seen in hemolytic anemia, it is seen in most of the anemia conditions. किसी भी पेशेंट में हीमोग्लोबिन कम हो गया तो what happens? Patient will develop malaise, or patient will not show interest in doing activities because oxygen concentration is very low in the body. Oxygen supply is very low because hemoglobin is decreased. Hemoglobin is not supplying the required oxygen to all the tissues. That's why patient will have malaise. And number two, actually fever is not seen in other anemia conditions. Fever can be seen in vitamin B12 deficiency anemia. In previous class we discussed. And fever can be seen in some autoimmune disorders or due to some hemolysis. हीमोलाइटिक अनेमिया के अंदर, और विटामिन B12 पर्निशियस अनेमिया कंडीशन बोलते हैं. Pernicious anemia is caused due to autoimmunity. Okay, autoimmunity. There are some in previous class I forgot to tell you. Some auto antibodies, what they do, they'll destroy the intrinsic factor. Destroy होने से patient will develop pernicious anemia. So in pernicious anemia and in hemolytic anemia, patient will develop fever. याद रख लो. Iron deficiency anemia के अंदर और other conditions में it is not seen. Fever is not seen. Now, fever is one clinical presentation. And next is abdominal pain. This is very very important. अनेमिया में abdominal pain होगा. अनेमिया में abdominal pain होगा. Yes, in hemolytic anemia, particularly in hemolytic anemia, abdominal pain is seen. Remember this point. See if this, yes, yes, sickle cell anemia is nothing but it is hemolytic anemia only. See, we are discussing about hemolytic anemias. So these are general clinical manifestations for hemolysis, hemolytic anemia. In hemolytic anemia we have so many examples. Just now we have seen sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, ये सब, all these conditions are hemolytic anemias. So you see, abdominal pain is seen in hemolytic anemias. याद रख लो. It is not seen in iron deficiency. It is not seen in folic acid deficiency. It is not seen in vitamin B12 deficiency. Okay, it is particularly seen in hemolytic anemia. Very important point. And number 4, patient will have dark urine and patient will have jaundice. Can anyone tell me this point? Why patient will have dark urine and jaundice? अब तक अपन नहीं देखे. Dark urine and jaundice till now we have not seen. Till now in any of the anemias, till now we have seen 4 to 5 types of anemias. In that, dark urine we have not seen. Dark urine, like cola urine बोलते हैं. Cola urine. Urine color will become like Coca-Cola. Cola, okay. Dark urine and jaundice. Dark urine and jaundice is commonly seen in hemolytic anemia. Can anyone tell me why it causes dark urine and jaundice? Anybody from the class? Bilirubin level increases. Okay, okay. See, to make to make you understand this, stercobilin. Yes, someone is telling stercobilin. See, याद रख लो सब लोग. I will try to give you some clarity. सब लोग ध्यान से सुनो. सब लोग ध्यान से सुनो. This is RBC, right? RBC will stay in our body for how many days? 120. It will stay in our body for 120 days, right? After 120 days, after its lifespan, RBCs बूढ़े हो जाते. Okay? RBC बूढ़े हो जाते, and what happens? RBCs will try to enter into the spleen. They'll enter into the spleen. Okay? In the spleen we have reticuloendothelial system. There what happens? Now I'll try to draw one spleen cell. Just मान लो this is a spleen cell. Okay? When RBC enters into the spleen, in the spleen it tries to destroy. So spleen is considered as graveyard for RBC. Yes, spleen is considered as graveyard for RBC. So in the spleen, the destruction of RBC occurs. In previous classes I told, when hemoglobin is broken down, it dissociates heme and globin. So globin is generally a protein, right? Globin is generally a protein. These proteins are metabolized and it is helpful to form some amino acids, and these amino acids are again useful for synthesizing new proteins or new globins, whatever. So this is general mechanism. Now the heme is nothing but, heme is made up of protoporphin plus iron, right? Heme is the combination of protoporphin 9 and iron, Fe, iron. Clear? Now heme will broke down again into protoporphin 9 and iron. Iron will be, this iron will go into the spleen, from spleen into the bloodstream, and from bloodstream it goes to liver, and it will be useful for forming new RBCs. I mean, this iron is helpful to form new hemoglobins. Even this iron is also having so many dysfunctions. अगर iron body के अंदर ज़्यादा हो गया तो that is called hemochromatosis. That is different concept. About that I'll explain in next classes. Now you see, heme got broken down into protoporphin and heme. Protoporphin and iron. This iron will be elevated. It will be excreted. Now protoporphin, what happens? This protoporphin will again metabolize into bilirubin. Finally, the protoporphin got so many sequence of chemical reactions and it will be converted into bilirubin. So bilirubin कहाँ से आया बोलो अभी? Bilirubin कहाँ से आया? Bilirubin is the metabolic end product of protoporphin. Simple. It is not metabolic product of iron. It is the metabolic end product of protoporphin 9, which is the product of heme. Okay? चलो अब देखो. This bilirubin which is broken down from protoporphin 9, this bilirubin is called unconjugated bilirubin. Okay, and this unconjugated bilirubin has two properties. याद रख लो, freshly produced bilirubin from the spleen, spleen के अंदर से जो भी bilirubin बाहर निकल रहा, that bilirubin is called unconjugated bilirubin. It has two functions. Number one, I mean not two functions, it has two properties. Number one, it is non-water soluble, right? This unconjugated bilirubin is non-water soluble. And number two, it has high protein binding capacity. It has high protein binding capacity. And one more property, it is very toxic. It is very toxic. Clear? Clear, everybody? Let me repeat the point. The bilirubin which is coming out of the spleen, the freshly produced bilirubin, is called unconjugated bilirubin. This unconjugated bilirubin is non-water soluble, it is high protein binding compound, and it is very toxic. अब non-water soluble, high protein binding capacity and non-toxic, these three are same. These three properties are same. अगर if any compound is having non-water solubility, definitely it will have high protein binding capacity. If any compound has high protein binding capacity, it will not excrete from the body properly and it will show its toxicity. Yes or no? Yes or no? All these three properties are usually seen in unconjugated bilirubin. Now, the unconjugated bilirubin is excreting out from the spleen and it is entering into the bloodstream. Okay, bloodstream के अंदर आ रहा. In the blood we have some serum or plasma proteins. In plasma proteins, what we have? We have albumin and globulins. We have albumins and globulins. These albumins, what it does, these albumins will try to bind, because unconjugated bilirubin is having high protein binding capacity, right? So this unconjugated bilirubin will go and bind on the albumin. It goes and binds on the albumin. So this albumin, what it does, this albumin will take this toxic form of bilirubin to the liver. It will take to the liver. And in the liver, we have a very, very important enzyme. Okay, we call it as UGT, called UDP gluconoryl transferase. So that it is simply called as UGT. याद रख लो, UGT. What UGT does, UGT tries to convert this unconjugated bilirubin into conjugated form. Conjugated means it is water soluble. It is water soluble. I mean, conjugation chemical reactions are those chemical reactions where the unconjugated form of molecules are added with certain water soluble conjugates, and through that what happens, it is called conjugated form. So this unconjugated bilirubin got attached with some conjugates and which is converted into conjugated bilirubin. So the conjugated bilirubin, what it does, it will go and it will store in the gall bladder. Till here understood, everybody? Till here did you understand? I am actually explaining what happens if RBCs are ruptured. If RBCs are ruptured, all these chemical reactions, all this physiology will be seen in the body. If more RBC is ruptured, what will happen? Clinical presentations, you will tell at the end. Are you all following me? समझ में आ रहा आप लोगों को? Most of you might have already studied all these concepts. I'm just giving you the revision. I'm just giving you clarity. बीच में कुछ doubt है तो पूछना, okay? So in this story, in this process, we have seen when RBC is ruptured, unconjugated bilirubin was formed. This unconjugated bilirubin entered into the liver, and in the liver it got converted into conjugated form, and that conjugated form is stored in the gallbladder now. Till here the story is very clear. Now you see, this is the general mechanism just now I explained. From here I'll try to continue. Now the conjugated bilirubin is stored in the gallbladder, right? From the gallbladder slowly the conjugated bilirubin will release into the duodenum through bile salts or through bile juice. Bile juice is nothing but it contains bile salts, it contains bilirubin, it contains excretory waste products and some metabolites. All these compounds are present in bile juice. In that, particularly bile salts composition is very high. Bile salts are made up of cholesterols. याद रख लो, cholesterols. Okay, usually bile juice is mainly composed of bile salts. उसके साथ bilirubin, we have some metabolites and waste products, वो भी रहते, but सबसे ज़्यादा क्या रहता? It has bile salts, which is the main component of cholesterol. अब देखो, along with the bile juice, bilirubin is excreting into the duodenum. Okay, in the duodenum, the conjugated bilirubin slowly enters into the small intestine, and in this small intestine we have gastric microflora. In the small intestines, we have gastric microflora. What they do, they will convert the unconjugated bilirubin into urobilinogen. Clear? Unconjugated bilirubin was converted into urobilinogen by some bacteria. I mean, this unconjugated bilirubin 20% will be converted into urobilinogen and remaining 80% will be converted into stercobilin. Stercobilin will be excreted through feces, simple. And urobilinogen, some amount of urobilinogen will be reabsorbed back into the liver, and from the liver again it will start its reaction. Again it will enter into the uh, uh, what we say, it will enter into the bile juice or in the gallbladder, and from gallbladder it will try to come back, and it undergoes enterohepatic circulation. And in this process, some amount of urobilinogen which is absorbed into the liver, from the liver it will try to escape into the bloodstream. Some amount of urobilinogen will escape into the blood circulation, and in the blood circulation it will be oxidized and it forms urobilin, and this urobilin will enter into the kidneys, and from the kidneys it will be excreted through urine. So this is the process how the total bilirubin which is synthesized by the breakdown of RBC will be excreted from the body. Clear everybody? यहाँ पे कुछ डाउट है? किसी को कुछ डाउट है? Do you have doubt in this, anybody? Yes, everything is very clear in the diagram. If you don't understand, you can ask me. Yes. See, urobilinogen, actually the unconjugated bilirubin is again converting into urobilinogen and stercobilin. Okay, urobilinogen 20% होगा, 80% stercobilin होगा, stercobilin पूरे feces में चले जाएगा. That is one. जो urobilinogen 20% is there, that will reabsorb into the hepatic tissue. It will be reabsorbed into the hepatic tissue, and in the hepatic tissue again it will undergo hepatic enterohepatic circulation, and some part of urobilinogen will escape into the blood and it will enter into the kidneys, simple, and it will be excreted through kidneys. ये टोटल प्रोसेस में क्या होगा? एट द एंड ऑफ द केमिकल रिएक्शंस, एट द एंड ऑफ द सर्कुलेशन, स्लोली टोटल यूरोबिलिनोजन विल बी एक्सक्रीटेड थ्रू यूरिन. यूरिन से निकलना ही है उसको, बट इट विल बी एक्सक्रीटेड स्लोली, बिकॉज सम पार्ट इज एंटरिंग इनटू द किडनीज एंड सम पार्ट इज अगेन गोइंग इनटू द लिवर. लिवर में से फिर what it will enter into the gallbladder, and from gallbladder again the same urobilinogen will come back, and again it will be reabsorbed. Like that it will undergo enterohepatic circulation. Okay, इसमें कुछ डिफिकल्टी नहीं है, इट्स वेरी इजी. ओके, यूरोबिलिनोजन अब्जॉर्ब हो जाएगा, यूरोबिलिनोजन ब्लड स्ट्रीम के अंदर फिर से यूरोबिलिन कन्वर्ट होगा, ऑक्सीडाइज होगा. ओके, एंड दैट यूरोबिलिन विल एक्सक्रीट फ्रॉम यूरिन. एनीवेज, चलो और क्लैरिटी दूंगा आपको. देखो, जस्ट नाउ वी हैव सीन एरिथ्रोसाइट्स वर डिस्ट्रॉयड. एरिथ्रोसाइट्स डिस्ट्रॉय होने के बाद ग्लोबिन्स एंड हीम will be dissociated. Heme will remove the iron, and the remaining protoporphyrin will be metabolized into biliverdin. Actually biliverdin middle में एक step होगा. Biliverdin again converts into bilirubin. Bilirubin is unconjugated form. It enters into the serum. In the serum it will bind with the albumin, and in the albumin again it will be taken to the liver. In the liver what happens? UDP converts this bilirubin into conjugated bilirubin. Conjugated bilirubin enters into the gallbladder, and from gallbladder it will be excreted through what we say in the GI tract, in the duodenum, and from duodenum it will be excreted. ये चीज़ अपने को पता है. अब देखो, अब यहाँ पे देखो, here sir you explained this, and what about this part? What is this part? ये part क्या है? See, whenever patient is having liver injury, or whenever patient is unable to trap the सीरम बिलिरुबिन, दी अनकॉन्जुगेटेड बिलिरुबिन, अगर पेशेंट में आल्बुमिन कम हो गया, तो व्हाट हैपेंस? आल्बुमिन कब कम होगा? व्हेन एवर पेशेंट इज हैविंग लिवर इंजुरी और हेपेटाइटिस और नेक्रोसिस और ऑल हेपेटिक रिलेटेड डिसऑर्डर्स जो भी है, इन दैट कंडीशंस आल्बुमिन विल बी डिक्रीज, राइट? व्हेन पेशेंट हैज hypoalbuminemia, in that case what happens? The free form of bilirubin will elevate in the serum, and this free form, just now I told, the free form of bilirubin is very toxic, right? It is very toxic. This free form of bilirubin will try to enter into the brain, and it causes damage in the brain, which is called kernicterus. Okay, and sometimes it enters into the placenta and it will accumulate in the fetus also. That is also a very dangerous condition. अब देखो, सब लोग ध्यान से सुनो यहाँ पे. This is the general physiology मा. यहाँ तक ये पूरा जनरल फिजियोलॉजी we have seen. If patient is having liver injury, it may damage brain. Actually, in jaundice we have three types. In jaundice we have three types. Number one, which is called hemolytic jaundice. Number two, which is hemolytic jaundice is particularly pre-hepatic jaundice बोलते हैं, pre-hepatic, because before hepatic tissue it is causing elevated bilirubin. And the second one is we have hepatic jaundice, hepatic. And third one we have post-hepatic. अब देखो, if patient's hepatic tissue is not functioning properly, what happens? The unconjugated bilirubin concentration increases and it will go and accumulate in the brain and it causes damage in the brain as well as in placenta. Unconjugated bilirubin can cross BBB and it also can cross placental barrier. याद रख लो. Okay, because of that reason it is very toxic. And there is another concept called post-hepatic disease. If anybody has gallstones, gallbladder के अंदर stones है, gallbladder के अंदर stones होगा तो क्या होगा बोलो? If patient has gallstones, what will happen? Gallbladder के अंदर stones है तो it will not excrete the conjugated bilirubin into the duodenum, right? So what happens? The conjugated bilirubin will try to stay in the liver only, and from the liver again it will be leaked out. Actually excrete होने के लिए the conjugated bilirubin should enter into the duodenum. Duodenum में enter होना, अगर duodenum में enter हो गया तो पूरा stercobilin के like stercobilin it will be excreted through feces. But in what we say in post-hepatic disorder, in that cases what happens? Due to the obstruction of gallstones in the gallbladder, the conjugated bilirubin will not enter into the duodenum, it will stay in the liver only, and from the liver what it does, it will be taken back into the bloodstream, and through that it causes elevated bilirubin in the body, particularly which one? Conjugated one. Okay, अब देखो, all these points we will discussing in jaundice. अभी तक we will stop this here. Now I will add one last point about jaundice. In neonates, why jaundice is very common? Can anyone tell me why jaundice in neonates is very common? Excellent. अब देखो, hemolysis तो सब में होगा, it is very normal. Hemolysis is very normal. When hemolysis is occurring, or sometimes hemolysis will be very high in neonates, due to the destruction of erythrocytes, what happens? The unconjugated bilirubin is produced in the neonate. This unconjugated bilirubin enters into the liver, but in liver, the enzyme UDP-GT, this UDP enzyme, UDP transferase enzyme is not appropriate, or it is not active, or liver is not functional. So what happens? The unconjugated bilirubin which is produced will try to enter into the brain and it causes brain dysfunction, or the condition is called kernicterus. You have to remember that point. So in neonates particularly, it is very important for us to treat the patient with jaundice immediately, or else it will damage brain and it may cause brain dysfunction. Very important. तो वहाँ पे क्या करते हैं? We can improve the patient's liver condition, or we can decrease the unconjugated bilirubin into conjugated form. Actually phototherapy करके एक therapy we give. We will try to convert the unconjugated toxic form of bilirubin into conjugated form. Simple उसका what we say the non-water soluble को water soluble कर देते हैं. Simple. Okay. So our toxic form will be converted into non-toxic form due to phototherapy. Ultraviolet rays कुछ देते phototherapy. Okay. So that is very important point. And one more point I would like to add here. There is one drug which will try to increase the unconjugated bilirubin in the body. Can anyone tell me the drug name? The drug which will increase the unconjugated bilirubin in the body. Anybody from the class? Drug that increases unconjugated bilirubin in the body. Anybody? Listen. Have you heard about sulfonamides? सब लोग, are you listening everybody? Sulfonamides are these are antimicrobial agents. In last class we discussed. Sulfonamides में trimethoprim, sulfasalazine, sulfamethoxazole, sulfadiazine, all these are sulfonamides. See, sulfonamides का एक property है, very very powerful property. Yeah, sulfonamides are having very high protein binding capacity. तो क्या होगा बोलो? क्या होगा? These sulfonamides will go and they will show competition with unconjugated bilirubin. Unconjugated bilirubin से compete करेगा, and what happens? Sulfonamides will bind on the albumin, and what happens? It will replace the unconjugated bilirubin. Unconjugated bilirubin पूरा क्या होगा? It will elevate in the blood. So due to that reason, what happens? This unconjugated bilirubin will go to brain and it will damage brain. Simple. So whenever patient is having jaundice, or whenever patient is having risk of jaundice, we should never prescribe sulfonamides. We should never prescribe sulfonamides, and sulfonamides are strictly contraindicated in neonates and in small children. Simple. Okay, clear? So that is one important point you have to remember. और उसके दूसरे drugs also we have, but sulfonamides is very very important. These all points we have discussed. Bilirubin का fate just now we have discussed. Okay, bilirubin क्या होगा? Urobilinogen enters into the blood. In the blood it converts into urobilin से फिर it enters into kidney में urobilin will be excreted through urine. Okay, it's a very simple process. Is this point clear to you all? जनरल फिजियोलॉजी समझ गए सब लोग? एनी डाउट इन दिस? नो डाउट नो. अब देखो, वाई पेशेंट विल हैव डार्क यूरिन? वाई पेशेंट विल हैव डार्क यूरिन? पेशेंट को डार्क यूरिन क्यों होगा? और पेशेंट को जॉन्डिस क्यों होगा? इन हीमोलाइटिक एनीमिया पेशेंट को जॉन्डिस और डार्क यूरिन क्यों होगा? बिकॉज द आरबीसी डिस्ट्रक्शन इज वेरी हाई एंड द लिवर विच हैज द एंजाइम्स, यूडीपी एंजाइम्स जो भी है, that UDP enzymes are not in a position to metabolize all the bilirubin which is produced. अब देखो, liver के अंदर UGT enzyme is there. Okay, this UGT enzyme, अब देखो normal patients में 10 molecules of bilirubin molecule is coming. Okay, 10 molecules of bilirubin is coming. So this UGT can break down these 10 molecules of bilirubin and it will convert it into conjugated form. उसकी कैपेसिटी खाली 10 molecules ही है. बट हीमोलाइसिस क्या होगा? हीमोलाइसिस ज़्यादा हो गया, हीमोलाइसिस गॉट डबल्ड. सो व्हाट हैपेंस? दिस टाइम 20 bilirubin molecules got produced from the spleen. So UGT is having capacity to react with 20 bilirubin molecules only, but this time 20 came. So what happens? The excess bilirubin will try to present in the blood only. So because of that reason what happens? It will cause jaundice. Simple. Jaundice क्यों होगा? Because a lot of bilirubin is produced. And why patient will have dark urine? Because when lot of bilirubin is produced, lot of stercobilin is produced and lot of urobilinogen is produced, and all this urobilinogen will try to excrete through urine and through that it will cause dark urine. Dark urine क्यों होगा? सुनो सब लोग, ध्यान से सुनो. Dark urine कब कब होगा? Number 1, if patient has rhabdomyolysis. If patient has rhabdomyolysis, do you know what is rhabdomyolysis? Breakdown of muscles. Breakdown of muscles. In muscles we have myoglobins. Okay, myoglobins are made up of we have certain pigments, red colored pigments. तो red color pigment ज़्यादा metabolize होगा तो urine will be formed into red in color. So rhabdomyolysis is one condition where patient's urine is red. Number two, if patient is highly dehydrated, dehydration condition में भी patient's urine will be dark in color. And number 3, if patient's bilirubin is elevated, if any patient's bilirubin is elevated, even in that condition also, due to elevated urobilinogen, patient will have dark urine. Clear? And if anybody has hemoglobin in the blood के अंदर, not hemoglobin, simply in blood hemoglobin directly, blood के अंदर hemoglobin है तो भी patient will develop dark urine. And sometimes if patient has severe sepsis, or if patient has severe inflammations, or if patient has severe fever, because more bacteria or more waste products are produced, in that case also dark urine is seen. So these are different conditions where patient will develop dark urine. अब यहाँ पे hemolysis ज़्यादा हो रहा ना, so more amount of urobilinogen is produced. So due to urobilinogen, what happens? Patient's urine will become dark in color. So this is the another clinical presentation. Now the other clinical manifestations we can see in hemolytic anemia is patient will have hemoglobinemia. You know what is hemoglobinemia? Presence of hemoglobin in the blood. Simple. Blood के अंदर RBC रहना चाहिए. See, in the blood or in the blood vessel, blood is red in color due to RBC. Okay, and that RBC is red in color due to hemoglobin. Hemoglobin should be located in RBC, not in plasma. Let me repeat the point. Hemoglobin should be located in the RBC, not in plasma or in serum. If RBC is ruptured, what will happen? Some hemoglobins will be escaped from the ruptured RBC, and what happens? The hemoglobin, free form of hemoglobin, will be floating in the blood. That is called hemoglobinemia. Understood, everybody? What is hemoglobinemia? presence of hemoglobin, direct hemoglobin molecules in the plasma or serum. Clear? Are you all following me? हाँ हूँ, बोलते रहना. And next one is patient will have hyperbilirubinemia. Why patient will have hyperbilirubinemia? Hyperbilirubinemia is nothing but elevated amount of bilirubin in the serum or in plasma. That is hyperbilirubinemia. Okay. And another one is patient will have reticulocytosis. What is reticulocytosis? Anybody from the class? What? Very good. अब ब्रेकडाउन थोड़े कंडीशन में ड्यू टू रैपिड ब्रेकडाउन ऑफ आरबीसीज मोर अमाउंट ऑफ आरबीसीज आल्सो कैन बी सीन. ओके, दिस इज रेयरली सीन बट ये भी दिख सकता है. रेटिकुलोसाइटोसिस आल्सो कैन बी सीन इन हीमोलाइटिक अनीमिया. ओके, नाउ नेक्स्ट इंक्रीज्ड यूरोबिलिनोजन लेवल्स इन यूरिन. ये तो अभी बिकॉज ऑफ दिस यूरोबिलिनोजन लेवल्स इन यूरिन पेशेंट्स यूरिन बिकम्स डार्क इन कलर. सिंपल. ओके, सो दिस आर ये बेस्ड ऑन दिस क्लिनिकल मैनिफेस्टेशंस वी कैन डिसाइड दैट पेशेंट इज हैविंग हीमोलाइटिक अनीमिया. हीमोलाइटिक अनीमिया कंफर्म होने के बाद we will try to rule out which type of hemolytic anemia patient is having. Okay, वो कैसा rule out करते that I'll explain. Okay, see now another clinical presentations what we can see. Patients with chronic hemolytic anemia usually have splenomegaly. एक बार splenomegaly होगा. क्यों? Why splenomegaly? Because more number of RBCs is destroyed and obviously the अब graveyard के अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा dead bodies आएंगे तो क्या होगा? Graveyard पूरा fill हो जाएगा ना. Because of that splenomegaly can be seen. Their anemia is usually in hemolytic anemia patients RBC will be normochromic and normocytic. यहाँ पे कलर ना ज़्यादा होगा ना कम होगा एंड साइज ना ज़्यादा होगा ना कम होगा. ओके, दे आर यूजुअली देर RBC size and RBC color is always same as if in normal patients. Normochromic means अंदर जो भी कलर है वो सेम होगा. Normocytic means their size is also same. Okay, based on this also we can say that patient is having hemolytic anemia. आयरन डेफिशिएंसी में क्या होगा बोलो? साइज ऑफ द आरबीसी. आयरन डेफिशिएंसी में साइज ऑफ आरबीसी क्या होगा? इन आयरन डेफिशिएंसी हिमोसाइटिक एनीमिया. एंड इन विटामिन B12 एंड फोलिक एसिड डेफिशिएंसी क्या होगा? मैक्रोसाइटिक, सिंपल मैक्रोसाइटिक भी बोल सकते हो. ओके, साइज इंक्रीजेस. एनीवेज चलो, सो दिस आर सम क्लिनिकल मैनिफेस्टेशंस इन हिमोलाइटिक एनीमिया. अब देखो, अब मजा आएगा. देखो, सी in hemolytic anemia we have seen some different types. In that the first one is autoimmune hemolytic anemia. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बहुत रेयर है एंड इट इज़ वेरी न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट स्पेशली फॉर यू पीपल बिकॉज अब तक आप पढ़े होंगे या नहीं आई डोंट नो, यू माइट हैव ऑलरेडी स्टडीड. सी इन hemolytic anemia we have autoimmune disease. I am discussing about autoimmune hemolytic anemia, not about the sickle cell, not about the other thalassemia or G6PD. I am explaining about autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Autoimmune hemolytic anemia means, autoimmune means, what is autoimmune? Autoimmune means there are some antibodies which are produced in the same body, in their body itself. Body itself produces some antibodies. Our body itself produces some antibodies and these antibodies will go and it will bind on the RBC. It will bind on the RBC and what it does, it will try to degrade the RBC. It will degrade the RBC. That is called autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Auto antibodies will try to degrade RBC and it will cause anemia. Auto antibodies will degrade RBC and it will cause anemia. Clear? So in autoimmune hemolytic anemia we have two types. ध्यान से सुनो. One is warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia. This is very important one, which is also called WIHA. In autoimmune hemolytic anemia, the first one is warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia and the second one is cold autoimmune hemolytic anemia, which is also called cold agglutinin disease. Cold agglutinin disease बोलते, CAD बोलते. इसका मीनिंग क्या है पता है आप लोगों को? See, some autoantibodies will try to destroy the RBC. They will try to destroy the RBC in normal body temperature. In normal body temperature or if patient has slightly elevated that body temperature. Normal body temperature के अंदर अगर antibodies RBC को destroy कर रहे हैं तो that is called warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Clear everybody? Clear this point? Number two, cold autoimmune hemolytic anemia is that anemia where some autoantibodies are binding on the RBC and they are destroying the RBC, particularly when body experiences body temperature with less than 37 degrees. अगर किसी भी पेशेंट में बॉडी टेम्परेचर नॉर्मल से कम हो गया कोल्ड क्लाइमेट कंडीशंस में चले गया तो क्या होगा, सम एंटीबॉडीज विल बी activated and they will go and bind on the RBC and they will destroy the RBC in cold climate conditions, that is when body experiences less than 37 degrees Celsius. Clear? That condition is called cold agglutinin disease or cold autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Understood these two terms meaning? Just meaning ही पता है आप तक, अभी अभी mechanism में जाना है. Clear everybody this point? Yes. Clear or not? Now let us try to see the pathophysiology, etiology, pathophysiology यहाँ पे समझा देते, देखो अभी समझा देता हूँ. See, I told warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia is caused in normal body temperatures, right? And this warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia is mainly it is triggered or it is triggered by IgG antibodies particularly. कौन से antibodies? IgG. समझ रहे सब लोग? Are you all following? Are you all following? चलो, these IgG antibodies will try to destroy the RBCs in normal body temperatures, okay, and it will cause hemolytic anemia. And number two, cold autoimmune hemolytic anemia is destroying the RBC at low body temperatures, I told. And here the main antibodies are IgM. याद रख लो, IgM. These IgM antibodies are aggravating in cold climatic conditions. याद रख लो. These IgM antibodies are activating or aggravating in cold climate conditions, and in cold climate conditions it goes and binds on the RBC, and what it does, it will cause RBC agglutination. RBC agglutination means RBC destruction, simple. Clear everybody? And when RBC agglutination is seen in cold climate conditions, what happens, it causes impaired blood flow to the fingers. It causes impaired blood flow to the fingers. सब लोग ध्यान से सुनो, जब भी लो बॉडी टेम्परेचर्स में IgM एक्टिवेट होगा, IgM agglutinates the RBC, and what it does, it will stop the blood flow to the fingers, it will stop blood flow to the toes, okay, it will stop the blood flow to the toes and also to the nose and ears. ये peripheral parts है. All these peripheral parts, blood flow will be stopped, and what it does, it will cause pain in the fingers, pain in the toes, nasal tingling sensation and ear pain. External ears particularly, external ears पूरे pain आना शुरू हो जाएगा. कौन से कंडीशन में? कोल्ड ऑटोइम्यून हीमोलाइटिक एनीमिया में. ओके, based on these cold climate conditions and hot climate conditions, they are categorized as warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia and cold autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Understood everybody? And one more very important point, this type of hemolytic anemias are very rare. They are very rare. Approximately हर 6000 patients में, in every 6000 patients one patient will be seen. Okay, approximately 6-7,000 में एक बंदे को दिखता. They are very rare, they are very rarely seen. Clear everybody? Autoimmune hemolytic anemia, ये दो पॉइंट्स याद रख लो. Now this autoimmune hemolytic anemia causes क्या है? What may be the causes or what may be the contributing factors for this autoimmune hemolytic anemia? See, particularly warm autoimmune disorder, warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, this is frequently associated with other disease conditions like immunological conditions, especially if anybody has chronic lymphocytic leukemia. अगर किसी पेशेंट में chronic lymphocytic leukemia है, this will have risk of causing warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, number one. Or if anybody is having systemic lupus erythematosus, in this condition also it is having risk of developing warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Or if anybody has hepatitis. So these three are risk factors. These three are common causes for warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Clear everybody? And cold autoimmune hemolytic anemia or cold agglutinin disease, in this usually sometimes it is mainly caused due to viral or bacterial infection. Viral bacterial infection के साथ अगर patient goes to cold climate conditions, viral bacterial infection के साथ if patient goes to cold climate conditions, and in cold climate conditions if patient develops hemolytic anemia, then we can diagnose that patient is having CAD. Clear? WAHA, warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, and CAD. These two are very important autoimmune hemolytic anemias. Clear everybody? Are you all understanding? Are you all understanding? Yes or no? अब देखो, till now what we have seen, autoimmune disorders which are aggravated due to diseases or due to environmental conditions. There are some autoimmune hemolytic conditions which are induced due to drugs also. Some drugs also can induce hemolytic anemia. वार्म hemolytic anemia कब होगा? वार्म hemolytic anemia कब होगा? If patient has SLE, if patient has tumor conditions, if patient has, अभी अभी बताया था ना, हेपेटाइटिस, क्रॉनिक लिम्फोसाइटिक ल्यूकेमिया, ये कंडीशन से वार्म ऑटोइम्यून hemolytic anemia होगा. अगर किसी पेशेंट को वायरल और बैक्टीरियल इन्फेक्शन है तो इट मे कॉज कैड. नाउ there are some drugs also can cause autoimmune hemolytic anemia. If patient is taking cyclosporin or if patient is taking fludarabine, interferon alpha or interferon A, levodopa, mefenamic acid, methyl dopa, penicillin, quinine, quinidine, if these drugs are taking, अगर ये drugs में patient is developing hemolytic anemia, we can suspect them as autoimmune hemolytic anemia. ऐसा नहीं है कि दिस ड्रग्स विल कॉज autoimmune hemolytic anemia, but these drugs are having risk. देखो, there are some conditions, very very important, ध्यान से सुनो. There are some conditions, some autoantibodies are stimulated in the body due to some drugs. थोड़े ड्रग्स देने के बाद some autoantibodies are stimulated, and these autoantibodies, what they do, they will go and bind on the RBC and they'll destroy RBC. Clear? So drugs also can initiate activation of autoantibodies. याद रख लो. That's why they have mentioned this. So if anybody is taking these drugs, we have to make sure that whether they are stimulating autoantibodies or not. Hemolysis हो रहा नहीं हो रहा, check कर लेना. If they are causing hemolysis, we have to go with the alternative therapy. Very important. Pathophysiology very simple. When in cold autoimmune hemolytic anemia and in warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, the IgG and IgMs both will activate. They'll go and bind on the RBC and they'll destroy RBC. That is very simple concept. Okay. So pathophysiology में उतना डिटेल में पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. But cold climate and hot climate, वो that you have to remember. Cold body temperature में कौन एक्टिवेट होगा और warm climate condition में कौन एक्टिवेट होगा? IgG and IgM. IgG is activated in cold, hot climate conditions, warm climate conditions, and IgM is in cold conditions. Okay. अब देखो, साइंस एंड सिम्टम्स क्या होंगे? ऑटो इम्यून डिसऑर्डर है, पेशेंट इज हैविंग ऑटो इम्यून हिमोलिटिक डिसऑर्डर. सो इन दैट केसेस सिम्टम्स क्या होने के चांसेस है? व्हाट सिम्टम्स आर पॉसिबल? सबसे नंबर 1, देयर इज वन सिम्टम कॉल्ड रेनाल्ड टाइप फिनोमिनन. हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट रेनाल्ड टाइप फिनोमिनन? RAYNAUD, रेनॉल्ड टाइप फिनोमिनन बोलते हैं. रेनॉल्ड टाइप फिनोमिनन, एक्चुअली रेनॉल्ड टाइप फिनोमिनन इज द कंडीशन वेयर द peripheral fingers will be stopped with the blood circulation, and it will cause cyanosis or it will cause pinkish coloration or it will cause discoloration. That is called Raynaud type phenomenon. So this is very very important phenomenon, main important symptom of hemolytic autoimmune disorders. Clear? Number 2, patient will have painful fingers. Patient will have painful fingers. Why patient will have painful fingers? Because of Raynaud type phenomenon. Okay. Number 3, patient will have pain in the toes, pain in the ears, and patient will have discoloration or purple coloration of the extremities of the fingers. Pain in the toes or discoloration in the toes, and patient will have pain in the ears and discoloration in the fingers or in the ears. Same discoloration भी हो सकता है, pain भी हो सकता है. Okay, that is third clinical presentations. And number 4, very very important one, usually in cold climate conditions, अगर पेशेंट को ये symptoms आ रहे हैं, and if these symptoms are aggravating in the cold climate conditions, if they are aggravating in the cold climate conditions, we have to suspect that patient is having CAD. Simple. We have to suspect that patient is having CAD, and we should not allow, if anybody has CAD positive, अगर किसी भी पेशेंट में CAD पॉजिटिव है तो आप क्या करोगे? If anybody has CAD positive, what will you do? You will not advise the patient to go out in the cold climate conditions, and always you will warm the patient. सिम्टम कम करने के लिए क्या करना? वो ऑटो एंटीबॉडीज एक्टिवेट नहीं होने देना बॉडी में. ऑटो एंटीबॉडीज कब एक्टिवेट होंगे? इफ पेशेंट्स बॉडी टेम्परेचर गोज बिलो 37 degrees. सो ऑलवेज वी शुड ट्राई टू मेंटेन द पेशेंट्स बॉडी टेम्परेचर मोर देन 37 degrees. सो कभी भी स्वेटर्स ये वो लगा के रखना पेशेंट को. वार्म ऑलवेज हॉट ड्रिंक्स, कूल वार्म ड्रिंक्स वो देते रहना। क्लियर? क्लियर? और क्लिनिकल प्रेजेंटेशंस में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट ध्यान दो, व्हाट इज द मेन इन्वेस्टिगेशन टेस्ट। इन्वेस्टिगेशन में कैसा पता चलता कि पेशेंट इज हैविंग ऑटो इम्यून हिमोलिटिक एनीमिया, कैसा पता चलता बोलो? देर इज ए वेरी वेरी सेंसिटिव टेस्ट एंड वेरी इजी टेस्ट एंड वेरी एक्सलेंट टेस्ट विच इज कॉल्ड Coombs test. Have you heard about Coombs test? COOMBS. Coombs test. Have you heard about Coombs test? This Coombs test is very simple test. क्या करता? Coombs test will try to find out the antibodies which are located on the RBC. RBC के ऊपर अगर antibodies है तो Coombs test will identify. Coombs test will try to identify the antibodies which are present in serum as well as on the RBCs. And if these antibodies are positive, then we can suspect that patient is having autoantibody hemolytic anemia. Along with symptoms, symptom के साथ अगर किसी भी पेशेंट को ये symptoms है, कुछ भी symptoms है, and if patient is having jaundice, and if patient is having hyperbilirubinemia, and if patient is having elevated aggravated CAD condition, CAD पता चल रहा और रेनॉल्ड्स टाइप फिनोमिनन पता चल रहा, तो सिंपल टेस्ट Coombs टेस्ट करते। इन Coombs टेस्ट इफ एंटीबॉडीज आर पॉजिटिव, इट इज दिस सेंसिटिव एंड डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट, सिंपल टेस्ट, कंफर्मेटिंग टेस्ट। क्लियर? पेरिफेरल स्मीयर वो सब कुछ भी नहीं करते यहाँ पे, पेरिफेरल स्मीयर करते तो पूरा नॉर्मली होगा। ओके, तो Coombs टेस्ट करना, कौन से कंडीशन में Coombs टेस्ट करना? पर्टिकुलरली इन ऑटो इम्यून कंडीशंस। अब आफ्टर फिनिशिंग ऑल टाइप्स ऑफ एनीमियाज, I will tell you how to approach or how to identify which kind of anemia patient is suffering from. पहले ये सब पता कर लेंगे अपन, all types of anemia पढ़ने के बाद how to approach to find out anemia condition, that we will discuss. Okay, cases एक 5-10 cases पढ़ेंगे, you will become expert in anemia. Okay, और बहुत सारे lectures होंगे, you have to follow. चलो, so you understood what is the common test for ऑटो इम्यून हिमोलिटिक एनीमिया? समझ गए सब लोग? Coombs टेस्ट करते, पेरिफेरल स्मीयर वो सब नहीं करते यहाँ पे। पेरिफेरल स्मीयर वो सब कब करते? इफ Coombs टेस्ट इज नेगेटिव, पेरिफेरल स्मीयर करने में अगर उसमें इफ पेशेंट इज हैविंग सिकल सेल टाइप एनीमिया, सिकल सेल टाइप आरबीसी, और वी विल गो विद दी G6PD एंजाइम अस्से, ऐसा करते, वो सब बाद में देखेंगे अपन। तो यहाँ पे सिंपल Coombs टेस्ट करते, सिंपल एंटीबॉडीज विल बी डिटेक्टेड इन दी आरबीसी। क्लियर? सिम्टम्स एंड क्लिनिकल प्रेजेंटेशंस एंड इन्वेस्टिगेशंस। क्लियर? अब देखो, अब किसी भी पेशेंट में, मान लो किसी भी पेशेंट में ऑटो एंटीबॉडी हिमोलाइटिक एनीमिया पॉजिटिव है, तो वहां पे आप ट्रीटमेंट क्या दोगे? सिंपल सी बात बोलो, व्हाट ट्रीटमेंट विल यू सजेस्ट? एनीबॉडी फ्रॉम द क्लास? ऑटो एंटीबॉडी हिमोलाइटिक एनीमिया पॉजिटिव है तो क्या ट्रीटमेंट दोगे? एनीबॉडी फ्रॉम द क्लास? एक्सलेंट, वेरी गुड। और वही कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स, वेरी गुड। एक चीज सिंपल बात याद रख लो, इफ एनी पेशेंट इज सफरिंग विथ ऑटो इम्यून डिसऑर्डर, वॉट एवर द डिसीज कंडीशन इज, ऑटो इम्यून डिसऑर्डर में कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स और ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस, either it is rheumatoid arthritis, it is psoriasis, or it is myasthenia gravis, or it is whatever the autoimmune disorder is, हर एक ऑटो इम्यून डिसऑर्डर में कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स और वेरी वेरी इफेक्टिव ड्रग्स। क्लियर? नंबर 2, एक्चुअली कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स और ड्रग ऑफ चॉइस। नंबर 2, अब हीमोलाइसिस हो रहा है तो मोर आरबीसी आर डिस्ट्रॉयड, तो क्या कर सकते हैं? मोर आरबीसी डिस्ट्रॉय हो रहा तो मोर आरबीसी प्रोडक्शन के लिए डिमांड भी बढ़ जाएगा ना। अगर किसी भी बॉडी में आरबीसी प्रोडक्शन डिमांड इज इंक्रीजिंग, तो व्हाट यू नीड? यू नीड फोलिक एसिड, you need vitamin B12, and also you need iron supplements. अगर ये कम है तो, if iron is normal then we need not give, but RBC production demand ज़्यादा हो रहा है तो here what we can go with folic acid, because folic acid increases RBC production. No, folic acid, vitamin B12 and iron supplements can also be given in hemolytic anemia conditions, especially in autoimmune disorder condition. Clear? नंबर 3, अगर आरबीसी प्रोडक्शन बहुत कम है, एंड इफ पेशेंट्स हीमोग्लोबिन इज वेरी लो, then we can go with blood transfusion also in some cases. ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन भी दे सकते हैं, बट ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन देते टाइम पे वी हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट ब्लड विच इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द अदर पेशेंट इज नॉट हैविंग सेम एंटीबॉडीज। तो और हीमोलाइसिस ज़्यादा हो जाएगा और पेशेंट को फिर जॉन्डिस बढ़ जाएगा, वो बहुत डेंजर कंडीशन है। ओके, सो व्हेन पेशेंट इज गिवन विद ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन ऑलवेज वी हैव टू गो विद कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड थेरेपी। कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड के साथ साथ ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन करें तो अपने को पेशेंट को मजा आएगा और फिजिशियन को भी यूजफुल होगा। ओके, सो दिस आर 3 स्ट्रैटेजीज। अब देखो, अब अपन एक बार बुक्स में क्या दिए दैट वी विल सी, वी विल ट्राई टू सी व्हाट दे हैव गिवन इन बुक्स। आर यू ऑल फॉलोइंग मी? फर्स्ट ट्रीटमेंट, फर्स्ट ट्रीटमेंट इज ऑलवेज बेस्ड ऑन द स्पेसिफिक कॉज। अगर इन्फेक्शन के वजह से पेशेंट, आई टोल्ड नो देर आर स्पेसिफिक कॉजेज विच विल अग्रीवेट दी ऑटो एंटीबॉडीज। स्पेसिफिक कॉज को ट्रीट कर दो तो ऑटो एंटीबॉडीज ऑटोमेटिक अग्रीवेट होना कम हो जाएंगे, स्टिमुलेशन ऑफ ऑटो एंटीबॉडीज कम हो जाएंगे। सो ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ स्पेसिफिक कॉज इज वन ऑप्शन, वन स्ट्रेटेजी। नंबर 2, especially in warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, high dose corticosteroid is drug of choice. In warm autoimmune hemolytic anemia, corticosteroids are drug of choice. Now patients who do not respond to corticosteroids, अगर corticosteroids से patient response नहीं दे रहा है तो alternative immunosuppressants क्या होगा? Alternative azathioprine, cyclophosphamide, methotrexate एंड वगैरह वगैरह होंगे। यहाँ पे सर methotrexate is immunosuppressant only, no? Why methotrexate is not given? Why methotrexate is not given? Why did we go with azathioprine and cyclophosphamide? Anybody from the class? Methotrexate is one drug which will cause anemia by decreasing the activity of folic acid. Simple. Folic acid activity कम कर देगा ना, तो अब अपन ट्रीटमेंट वी आर गिविंग फॉर अनेमिया, अनेमिया में ट्रीटमेंट दे रहे हैं तो फिर से अनेमिया कॉज करने वाला ड्रग कोई सजेस्ट करेगा? इफ ए डॉक्टर इज गुड डॉक्टर विल ही सजेस्ट दिस ड्रग? इसका अल्टरनेटिव देखेगा ना, अदर अल्टरनेटिव इम्यूनोसप्रेसेंट देखेगा। सो azathioprine and cyclophosphamide, and यहाँ पे we have one more drug, 5-fluorouracil is also there, that also should not be given. Okay, in previous class I told 5-fluorouracil, that also should not be suggested. Okay, just common sense use करते हैं, यहाँ पे कुछ भी ज़्यादा नहीं रहता. These are simple guidelines. And next, if see initially what we did, initially we gave with corticosteroid, it did not work well, we went with other immunosuppressants, it did not work well. So final third option what we have antibody, monoclonal antibody which is rituximab. याद रख लो rituximab, this is a new drug actually, these are new drugs, this is new drug, very expensive drug. इसकी एफिकेसी थोड़े रिसर्च में काम करता करके दे आर टेलिंग, बट एग्जैक्टली FDA अभी अप्रूव नहीं किया इसको, शायद इसको अब किया होगा, बट इन दी प्रीवियस टेक्स्ट बुक्स दे आर टेलिंग दैट rituximab is not approved for this condition. So while giving to the patient को जब rituximab देते तो we have to suggest that rituximab is not approved by FDA, but still some researchers are telling it is effective drug करके बोलने के बाद ही देना, फिर उसके बाद कुछ हो गया, कंसेंट नहीं लिए तो फिर अपने ऊपर आ जाएगा. ओके, so that important point we have to follow. So this is the third strategy for acute or for autoimmune hemolytic anemias. Okay, and see these are for warm acute autoimmune disorders. And now for CAD patients में अपन कभी भी अपन वार्म करते रहना पेशेंट. जस्ट नाउ आई टोल्ड कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड दे सकते, इम्यूनोसप्रेसेंट्स दे सकते, रिटुक्सिमैब दे सकते अगर पेशेंट इज इंक्रीज्ड विद द autoimmune antibodies. First of all, if patient is diagnosed with CAD, कोल्ड क्लाइमेट कंडीशन में नहीं लेके जाना, कोल्ड क्लाइमेट कंडीशन में नहीं लेके गए तो एंटीबॉडी एक्टिवेट नहीं होगा, सिंपल. तो अपन ट्रीटमेंट देने की जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ेगी. सो इन पेशेंट्स विद CAD वी हैव टू कीप द पेशेंट वार्म ऑल द टाइम, सिंपल. सिकल सेल एनीमिया सीखना है, चले कंटिन्यू. सिकल सेल एनीमिया ये बहुत और लेंथी टॉपिक है, सिकल सेल एनीमिया.